and welcome to What's That About from CCTV, Cambridge's best television station. Our topic today is preventing police violence, especially against people of color. Yeah!
Max, I'm not sure that's an appropriate
For the last 45 years, our show has been answering all your pressing questions submitted via U.S. mail, which is absolutely our favorite way to receive messages, right, Julie?
Right, but...
So what question are we answering this week?
Okay, Rick from Franklin Street asks, I was horrified by the recent police violence and assaults in Minneapolis, Louisville, Rochester, Michigan, Kenosha, Los Angeles, Miami, Louisiana, St. Louis, Dallas, Minneapolis again. I'm just going to skip ahead. Where Black people were shot or killed by police. How can we work to prevent something like that from happening here in Cambridge?
Well, that's a tough question. Let's bring in our roving correspondent and subject expert, Special Agent Desmond Pomeroy.
Yeah, well, this is a big one.
Yeah.
What do you say, Desmond? How do you solve one of the biggest problems facing American society today?
Yeah, you mean the systemic racism in law enforcement based on literally centuries of built-up norms and prejudices?
Yeah, how do we keep that from happening in our idyllic little burg in Cambridge?
Well, first off, it's already happening here. I mean, just this week, Cambridge Police Lieutenant Sean Lynch, pretty ironic, right? He got caught tweeting a litany of racist and homophobic remarks in response to Black Lives Matter protests.
Well, he sounds like a bad apple, but nobody's been shot or killed by Cambridge police, right?
Yeah, that's right. Right, and kudos to them for passing that extremely low bar. They haven't murdered an unarmed person in custody. Yeah, but that doesn't mean everything's all hunky-dory. For example, we don't have specific data for Cambridge, but we do know in 2019, 70% of the field interrogations conducted by Boston Police Department were on Black people, even though they make up less than 25% of the population.
Whoa. But, Black people are more likely to be located in areas where crimes are committed, right? So maybe the cops are just using their resources wisely.
Max, let's pretend you didn't just say that. Policing disparities today are a consequence of the long history of racism in society. Read a book.
Yeah. Check out Ta-Nehisi Coates' The Case for Reparations on this. Redlining and lack of job opportunities, the so-called war on drugs, which is really just a war on poor people. I mean, it all leads to where we are now. But even on all that additional stop and frisking Boston police did last year, only 3% of the Black people stopped got a summons or arrested, compared to 4% for white people.
Well, that's kind of good, right? I mean, less Black people getting arrested than white people.
I don't think you're getting it. Every time a Black person is forced to interact with the police, they're in danger because they have to deal with a criminal justice system that's violently tilted against them. I mean, George Floyd was killed by police after being suspected of passing a counterfeit 20. Yeah. Elijah McCain was killed after police thought he looked sketchy. I've actually been practicing my neutral, unassuming, non-threatening face. How's this?
I feel non-threatened, but I'm not a cop guy. But now I feel like we can finally talk about how underrated Hootie and the Blowfish are. Or did you know Blondie had the first real rap song on the charts?
Desmond, what can be done in Cambridge?
I mean, obviously there's not a simple answer, but a measure proposed by two of my good buddies in the Cambridge City Council, Quentin Zondervan and Javon Sabrina Wheeler, I mean, they have a step in the right direction. They want to transfer traffic enforcement from the CPD to unarmed personnel. I mean, this would help decrease the number of unnecessary interactions between armed police and people of color.
That's crazy. Why would anyone obey the law if you don't risk getting pulled over by some big, meaty Buford Tusser type with a 44 Magnum and a big shillelagh? I mean, people would just drive their giant muscle cars into the middle of Harvard Yard and start doing donuts, obviously.
Plenty of places like Arizona or 19 other states, I mean, they go further and already rely mainly on cameras to catch traffic offenders. They just send you a ticket in the mail. I mean, it's not Mad Max down in Tucson.
Oh, yeah? Wait till we run out of oil and start building all the Thunderdome.
What else can we do in Cambridge, Desmond?
Well, we can get rid of the CPD's ridiculous buildup of military weapons. Despite the lie told by the police commissioner to the city council that they don't have weapons of war, CPD in fact has 64 M4 rifles, tens of sniper rifles, a friggin' Bearcat armored vehicle, tear gas.
Well, why do the police need an arsenal like that? Who's the enemy?
What if we get invaded by aliens, Julie?
That's why we have the Space Army, Max. And the Wahlbergs. Mark Wahlberg and the Wahlberg family will for sure protect us from aliens.
That's true. And Matt Damon.
Exactly. No, the police have armed themselves to make sure the citizens they're paid to protect and serve don't get too unruly. I mean, it's worth mentioning that when a police reform bill was brought up to the State House, the Cambridge Police Union threatened on their Facebook page that purge-level mayhem would result.
Dang. I mean, the purge was really scary, but like, what if instead we welcome new alien overlords?
What's in the State House reform bill you're talking about, Desmond?
It's a mild step in the right direction. Some versions would end qualified immunity for police. I mean, it would also establish a state certification and discipline system for police, ban chokeholds, and limit the use of tear gas, rubber bullets, and the like. But it's not nearly enough.
It sounds like a lot.
Hasn't research shown that we need to establish civilian oversight with real teeth, subpoena power, and whatnot?
True. Right now, there's talk about doing this in Boston and Cambridge. The city council also raised the idea of reallocating parts of the police budget to mental health professionals instead of using armed cops in situations they're neither equipped nor needed to handle. The problem is, the Cambridge Police Union and their allies are fighting these reforms every step of the way. So we in the community need to step up and make sure our voices are being heard, not just the police unions who already have their thumbs on the scales.
Jeez, it's hard to know where to start. I mean, sometimes I have trouble with simple tasks like keeping my shoes tied. How am I going to get legislation passed?
I believe in you, Max.
Oh, thanks.
Campaign Zero, a nonprofit working to get lawmakers to pass data-driven solutions to end police violence, is one good place to start. On their website, which is joincampaignzero.org, they point you to legislation in your area and the names of your state representatives to contact. And they also collected a bunch of research that you can use in your letters to your local reps.
Ooh, I'd love writing letters and mailing them with the U.S. Postal Office.
Max, let's not get sidetracked on your post office thing.
Well, here's your chance, Max. None of these issues are going to be solved until we tackle the underlying systemic racism in society. We got to make calls, write emails,
or letters
to your local government. Support the local and national nonprofits working on this: the Massachusetts Bail Fund, BLM, Campaign Zero, the Equal Justice Initiative, etc. It's going to take all of our voices to stop this. But remember Rick from Franklin Street. What happened in Kenosha, in New York, in Aurora, in Louisville, or all those other places around the country, it can happen here. I mean, it's already happened here. Desmond Pomeroy out.
Desmond, we can still see you.
Oh, hey, okay. Desmond Pomeroy out.
Man, this is heavy.
You mean systemic racism and police violence against people of color?
Yeah, that. Thanks, Rick from Franklin Street, and thank you, Special Agent Desmond Pomeroy. Until next week, we'll see you first. Ketchup is a
John.
Ketchup is a vegetable.